This upcoming week, we have a hearing in front of the Juvenile Justice and Family Issues Committee. This is an interim discussion regarding protective orders. And I think this is a very important discussion to have right now because protective orders have criminal consequences. I had been served with a protective order. It was a fabricated protective order, but nevertheless, I had to defend myself. It cost me $20,000 that I had to defend myself. And when I talked with people at a church, one of the church people said, well, why don't you just, what's the difference if you get a protective order? And to be honest with you, I didn't know. Like, just take it and move on with life. But protective orders have criminal consequences, and in my case, it would have caused me to lose my job. So I talked with my boss, and they said, you've got to defend yourself over this thing. So I went back and I did it. I was found innocent. And it was very evident from the testimony that was given that there was a lot of perjury and collusion that was taking place. And yet the perjurers and the colluders had no penalties given to them. This was something that could have destroyed my life, could have ended with me being in prison. It could have caused the dissolution of my marriage here with my wife. It could have caused untold numbers of hardship and everything else. And it was simply because I was trying to protect my grandchildren and my daughter. And my ex-wife got up there. She committed perjury. My daughter's ex-boyfriend committed perjury. It was a show that you can't believe. I'm considering putting out the transcripts of that whole trial that took place in the near future. I've kept silent about this for quite some time, and I think that it's something that maybe this is the time. Maybe now the time is ripe to start talking about these protective orders. Protective orders can ruin not just an individual's lives, an innocent individual, but it can also ruin others' lives that he or she is involved with, whether it's a spouse, a family, friends, everything else, a job, career. And I know that I've talked with people that have been told that you either accept this and you take 3 to 4 years in prison, or we're going to go for 25 years. They give you the plea bargain option. I could have accepted everything and saved myself a ton of money, but I chose on the basis of principle to fight it. And it turned out that for the civil lawsuit, again, I was declared innocent by a judge who wanted to find me guilty, and then realized at the end she had to look at the evidence and then said the evidence completely supports my innocence. Knew other people were lying, knew other people were committing perjury, nothing happened to them. And then I had a criminal hearing. And this was when, I believe it was, I can't remember her name right now, Susan Hawk, I think her name was. She was the DA, and she was going through some mental issues, I think, or some nervous breakdown or something. But I had to spend $5,000 or so, and the case was dismissed. There was no prosecution against me. It was just a complete garbage case. So, but again, it had the potential to ruin my life, to destroy my career, to have me ending up in jail, to be bankrupt, whatever it may be. So as out of principle, again, I'm fighting this stuff. We have to fight because even though our battles may be done, these battles, if we don't address them head on, it's going to affect our children and our grandchildren. And I was not the one that declared war on them. They declared war on me. And they declared war on my family and on my kids and on my grandkids. And I understand people that want to not be involved in this, but that is a cowardly decision to make when so much is at stake. We've got to keep fighting for our kids, for our grandkids. We've got to fight to bring justice back into our lands. What's happening right now is that the family courts are becoming a law unto themselves, and it's an unjust law. It is destroying our country. It's destroying the fabric, the very essential building blocks of our society, and it's also therefore destroying our country. So we're going to be down there this Friday. If you're available to come down and to testify, it's at the Juvenile Justice and Family Issues Committee, Friday at 10 o'clock, September the 23rd. Be down there. I'm going to be down there anyway for a conference, so I'm going to delay my arrival at the conference because we need to discuss this. We need to go into it. We need to make sure that these things don't take place. And the interesting thing is that, the chairperson is Victoria Niave. It's interesting because I called her office, and at the office last session I called, and they actually seemed like they were pretty decent about it. And I got a call back, and they said, well, are you concerned about poor people? That they can't afford justice? I said, not just about poor people, about every person. You go into one of these things and you are assumed to be guilty. There is no presumption of innocence. And the judges will inflict a protective order against a person even though they know they're innocent, for fear that what if we get it wrong? And what if really this person is somebody who needs to have a protective order, and if we don't do it, our name's going to be in the paper. So they, out of an abundance of caution, so to speak, they will give protective orders out, sometimes like candy, even with no evidence. And this is what some people within the Family Law Committee want to see take place. Evidently, this is the charge that they have to look at this stuff. We cannot let it take place. And I would also say one other thing as well. In this committee, there are two divorce attorneys, Ana Maria Ramos and Victoria Niave, the chair. According to Article 3, Section 22 of our Texas Constitution, they should disclose the fact that they can profit from this type of legislation. They should disclose it, and they should be recused from voting. They should not vote on these bills because it could profit them in private practice. And I would say even the same thing with David Cook, who is a Republican legislator who is on that committee. I believe that he too should not be able to vote on this because his law firm does deal with things like family law and protective orders, and he too could profit. So out of the 9 members, 3 of them should be ineligible to vote on this issue according to our Texas state constitution. And you say, well, really, what's the big deal about this? For those who know Leslie Levy, she was the family justice attorney out of Williamson County. It was about 3 to 4 years ago that I was in Williamson County filming an event, a continuing legal education event, and Leslie Levy was teaching family law attorneys, divorce attorneys, how to use protective orders to gain an advantage in divorce. And one of the things she was telling them, don't file them through my office because that way there's certain criminal things that take place, but here's how you do it and you can gain an advantage in divorce. It was an attorney, family justice attorney, assistant district attorney. She was openly teaching these lawyers who were laughing about it, that this is what you need to do to get an advantage in divorce. I was the voice that was speaking about due process issues and other things. It is my video out there, and anybody knows, look up Leslie Levy protective orders, and it probably will come up because that I believe her office filed a complaint with YouTube against me, eventually got my video taken down. I put it up on Facebook, and I asked everybody to download it and to post it every place. So there are other people now who have it out there. So we cannot take this stuff sitting down. We need to fight, and remember, we're not fighting because we just want to be cantankerous or you're just angry and bitter or everything else. We are fighting for the sake of our children. We fight because those who are coming up behind us are more precious than the fears and the intimidation and the threats we receive from those in front of us. And that includes the family law attorneys. That includes the Texas Anti-Family Law Foundation. That includes these people who want to shut us up and label us or mislabel us. And we also need to wake up our churches. Our churches have been horrible about this thing. Christian churches have just said, well, we have to be the white knights here. We have to protect the women. And in many times, it's the very women who are committing perjury, who are willingly and knowingly filing orders because they know that there's going to be no repercussions against them. But this is another form of revenge and vengeance. This is domestic violence against another person, whether it's a man filing against a woman against a man. In many instances, the churches are too naive and maybe too compromised to actually stand up against this. So anyway, on this upcoming Friday, I hope to see you down in Texas at the State Commission, at the Juvenile Justice and Family Issues Committee. We are going to continue fighting this. I have a friend of mine years ago, he said we must be relentless in our fight. Doesn't mean that we can get engaged in every single battle, but we are going to win this battle, this war. It may not be immediately, but personally I think that there are too many things on our side, and if we stand firm, and as I mentioned earlier, if we consider some things like civil disobedience, I think that increases the odds in our favor. And unless our legislators listen to us, and unless we start holding these family court judges, anti-family court judges, and the entire industry, the family destruction industry, and the attorneys to some type of accountability, it's going to come down to nonviolent civil disobedience on a mass scale. And that's something that we need to be talking about. We need to be letting that brew in our mind right now, giving the legislature another opportunity to fix this. And if they don't, I think that we need to be considering the upcoming steps that we need to take because the legislature, no matter what their intent is, they are destroying our families. Governors who sign this, they are destroying our families. Courts that implement this, they are destroying our families. Family law attorneys who plunder finances of people, charging $300, $400, $500, $650 an hour, they are destroying our families. We must stand strong. We must not waver. We must be relentless in this fight. And I will give a further update about some of the things that took place last week. And I hope as well to give further updates in the next week about what took place at this family, as this protective hearing meeting in front of the Juvenile Justice and Family Issues Committee. Anyway, thanks all for right now and appreciate it. Thank you so much.